Hey, so we're going to try this a little differently. I want to be able to deliver consistent lessons to you. And I know sometimes when I'm trying to teach, we can have lag. We don't have an opportunity to pause me because I'll sometimes go too fast or sometimes I'm going too slow for people. So we're going to give this a try. This is not my first flipped classroom. I usually have run flipped classroom. I ran it in 6th grade. I've done it in 8th grade too. So we're just going to do that model. So instead of me being live, I'm going to present to you the lesson like this. You're going to be able to watch it like this. You'll be able to ask questions because I'll be there with you while you're doing it. And then if you need to go back and watch it again, it's available. If you need to pause it in the middle because you're trying to catch up to what I'm saying, you can do that. But we're going to try this, and it's going to be great. Okay, so first thing is you're going to need your blank piece of paper. Get a notebook. Use this notebook for everything that you do. That way it's one-stop shop. You grab it, you're ready to go. At the top, so above that line in that blank space, what I want you to write up here is solving one-step equations. And then I'm going to write lesson 0. This is review. Now I know last year you kind of ended your year with equations, so I'm not quite sure where all of you are, but I know all of us can use a review at one time or another. We're going to do equations now for close to 4 months, so be prepared for that. Everything that I teach you, even this beginning stage, is going to matter at the end stage. So one of the things that I remember about this is there's 3 keys that I notice that kids do who struggle with this. So you got plenty of room on your paper. We're going to do these 3 keys that I'm going to do 4 examples, and then you're going to be able to do some practice. Once you get these things done, you're going to upload it to Google Classroom. So you'll take a photo of your sheet and put it in Google Classroom for points. So number 1 is do the math. So many kids will sit and do equations and just guess. The math matters. So when you're doing these things, whatever the math is required, as simple or complex as it could be, make sure that you're doing the math. Number 2 is, oh no, now I got to remember. I forgot. Do the math. That's what it is. Number 2, when in doubt, write it out. I'm going to stress this entire time. 4 months of me saying the same thing, and that is get your work on the paper. Do not be someone who's so lazy that they're just going to do it. And when you do your work, be proud of your work. This is not your work. Your work is not this. It's not garbage. Be deliberate. Be precise. You're an analytical mathematician. Be that, okay? Get your work on the paper, be organized on the paper. We're going to get problems that are big, and if you can't organize on the paper, you're going to be totally sunk. Plus, the paper acts as your random access memory. And that's the thing that's going to help you keep track of everything that's going on without wasting thinking space up here because you've got it on the paper and you can work with it there. Last thing is this. Don't forget that the whole point of this is we are undoing the equation. Each equation, I forgot the G. There's the G. Each equation is set up, and then all we're going to do is take it apart, take it apart, take it apart, take it apart, till it's down to just a solution, okay? So when we do that, we have to be deliberate and we have to act equally on both sides because that's what an equation is. It's something that's balanced. Whatever's on the left or on the right is equal to whatever's on the other side. All right, those basic things. Keep that in mind while we do these. Now let's do our examples. Get your examples onto the paper. So we'll just start with this. A plus 10 equals -7. Whether or not you can do it in your head, don't care. Okay? The whole point of this is not necessarily to be the smartest person with math facts, because we're way past that. Now it's structure. Now it's about showing deliberate work when you're doing these things. So this is how we're going to do this. We need to get this by itself. So our answer here is going to be A equals something. That's where we'll finish. To do that, I've got a positive 10 on this side. I want to make it 0. So I'm going to bring in a negative 10. Positive 10, negative 10, that creates a 0. I chose that, right? I'm the person making the choices here to do what I want with this problem. I have to put negative 10 on that side too. That's what ensures that it's still equitable. If I take 10 away from this side and 10 away from this side, my equation has not changed. Which leaves me A plus 0. Do we need to write the 0? We don't. But just so you understand what's happening there, we turned it into a 0. Equals, now I have negative 7 and negative 10. Combining a negative with a negative is a party. That means we're going to just put those together as into being the number of negatives that there are, negative 17. Which gives me an answer of negative 17. Now, the check. Now, before you ask, do we have to do the check? Before you ask, do we have to simplify, right? It's the same question. Yes, do the check. The check matters. The check is for points. The check makes you right. But don't do some phony baloney check where you just write stuff on your paper and act like I did it. Do the math. Go back to number 1. Do the math. So we're going to take this value here. Let's see how my orange shows up. This value here, and we're going to substitute it in for A. And then when we do that math, it's going to look like this. Negative 17 plus 10 equals negative 7. Combine these two, a negative and a positive this time, 17 negatives, 10 positives. When we push those together, we have more negatives than positives. How many more negatives? Negative 7 equals negative 7. That is a true statement. It was true here too, but we had a piece of simplifying to do on one side. Let's do another one. One step is really easy. Because like it says, there is only one step. So I've got 3 equals x minus 9, or x and negative 9. Now I put the x on that side, on the right side. That's not a problem. But the x should finish on that side. In this case, we're not moving x's back and forth. X should just travel straight down so that we have something that equals x. Now, the piece that's with the x now, we've got to move this negative 9 away to create a 0 there. I'm going to add 9 to it. I'm going to add 9 to this side. And now I have x plus 0. I don't need to write the 0, but I'm confirming. Negative 9 and positive 9 equals 0. And that is then combining 2 positives on this side, 12. So I got x equals 12. Now I take my answer, and I'm going to substitute it back in for x. And then I'm going to show that it's true. 3 equals 12 minus 9. 3 equals 3. That checks. Let's switch over to multiplication. So in this we had a constant, and we were undoing that constant, removing it from the equation. This time I've got negative 6m is 72. Going back in your memory banks to last year, we've got a coefficient and a variable here. We've got a variable term. Those are put together with multiplication. Now, what I want this to turn into is I want it to be 1m. 1m, not negative 6m's, 1m. To get this to be 1, I need to divide by negative 6. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1. If I do it to this side, I got to do it to this side. Again, do the math. So a little side math over here. 72 divided by 6. There's 1, 6, 1 remaining, 2. 6 goes into 12 twice. 12, 0, 12. But I go back and check my signs. Positive and negative, opposite signs in multiplication gives me a negative answer. That's going to be negative 12. I did the math over here, so I know 6 times 12 is 72. If I go back to this and I say negative 6, times negative 12 equals positive 72. A negative times a negative gives me positive 72. And that checks. One more. This is the last one. So after you get this one on your paper, take a photo of your notes and you're going to upload it to the item that's in Google Classroom. Here we go. Last one, last one, last one. Last one, last one, last one. Last one, last one, last one. Last one. Frankly, there's no rush. Like, this is what we're doing. So be here, right? We're going to put that variable on the right side again. 4 equals 8y. And this is where doing the math matters, right? So don't be the person who goes, it's 2. Because I don't want you to rely on your math facts, because those fact families will use it against you. In this case, the answer is not 2, because 2 times 8, or 8 times 2, is not going to equal 4. So, same thing we did last time. We need to get this to a 1y, so this is going to end up looking like 1y equals something over here. To turn this 8 into a 1, we can't subtract it, because it's put together with the y with multiplication. That doesn't work like that. So we have to undo it, and when we undo it, we have to divide that piece off. And we're going to divide it by 8, because 8 divided by 8 is 1. And if we divide by 8 on one side, we've got to divide by 8 on the other. Now, this is where the math matters. Instead of getting fooled by the idea of that fact family, we've supplied this, or we've set this up correctly. This is going to equal 1. 8 divided by 8 will equal 1. On this side, though, we've got a fraction. And this is where we got to love that fraction. Don't make it a decimal. Don't turn it into something different. We want the fraction. And the fraction's where we're going, because we're going to use the fraction for a very specific thing that you will use in math for the next 3 years. All we're going to do is simplify here. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. Maybe you can see it already. It's 1/2. Now, a mental check here. What's half of 8? 4. That's all you got to do. If you do the multiplication, that's fine too. So I have 8. If we take it and do substitution, we put it in for this y. I've got, nope, that was bad. I've got 4 equals 8 times 1/2. And just to keep my placeholder, I'm going to turn the 8 into a fraction. And then I got 4 equals 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 2 is 2. 4 equals 4. 8 divided by 2 is 4. That checks. All right, photo, upload, then practice. Good luck.